Сьогодні шаблони розриває Іва Ілвез, фахівчиня з кібербезпеки, що працювала на уряд Латвії, колишня перша леді Естонії та консультантка Мінцифри. Ми говоримо англійською, тож сподіваюсь, that is not a problem. Enjoy!
Рвані шаблони, подкаст Ольги Довганіч.
Thank you for coming. It's such an honor to talk to you. We are talking to Іва Ілвез today, and there is a huge article on Wikipedia I'd like to read about her. But this incredible woman is the former Minister of Digital Transformation, former Minister of Defense at Latvia, and
in the ministry. I'm not the minister, but in the ministry. I'm also in the ministry.
in the ministry. Sorry for that.
No, that's I'm sure that some Latvians will be like
Equally impressive to me, you say? Okay, it sounds equally impressive to me. But what's more interesting about it that you managed to combine all these roles with being a mother of 3 and being the former First Lady of Estonia. Yeah, not coming from Latvia and not giving up Latvia's work.
No.
And that is the most impressive fact. We will talk about it in the ending of this conversation. What I want to start for, and I would like you to ask to talk about how you help Ukraine now. You're consulting our Minister of Digital Transformation within the cybersecurity action that you're expert in. And that would be great to hear what are the main points of your work and how do you think how we are doing in this field?
Thank you first for inviting. It's really a pleasure, and it's always, it's even difficult to explain, but every time I come out of the train arriving in Kiev, you feel that inspirational and also strength almost in the air, and sort of focus to get things done and work together and be consolidated. I mean, there are so many good, I hate the word vibes, but it's very good feeling in contrast of that horrifying war that you're facing, which probably has consolidated people. So it's really an honor and pleasure for me to be here, and then thanks for inviting to interview. What I do is I'm very passionate about digital topics and technology, and of course, it's no news. Technology is everywhere, and everybody's passionate about technology. Even if it's just a level of social media. and Instagrams or TikToks or whatever is used. But I came here really on purpose. I started to work here initially with the EU advisory mission, but then I transformed to work with your ministry because I realized that I want to learn from Ukraine what Ukraine does digitally. Really, really honest answer is I wanted to learn what Ukraine is capable of digitally. I was happy to share my knowledge, happy to share my EU global background or my networks or my experience. But my very selfish goal actually was to learn from you. And I realized because there is a war and the way you are all fighting the war, physically, digitally, different ways, the only way to learn from you is really come and work here. Work myself, help you, give advice, learn from you, bring that your lessons learned back to the world. And so I hope that's where I'm most helpful, because learning from you is very selfish. But where I'm helpful to you is actually to tell your story, your success, your achievements, lessons learned to the world, because we need that. We need that in Europe, because we are bordering Russia. Latvia and Baltics obviously is our front line. And we need to learn how you manage to be so resilient. And in my opinion, that's also thanks a lot to technology, not only at the front line with drones and innovations there, but with all your technology innovation in society, with your services, with your connectivity. And so I feel that's where I can be the most helpful to Ukraine, to your ministry, to tell your story, to tell the success to the world, and get people interested to learn from you and to support you by financial means, by their knowledge.
Do you think we could export this knowledge?
I think you absolutely can export that knowledge. We've been discussing at the WEF meeting here in Kiev. It's very difficult to export it in a sense for profit. That's entirely, we have to find the mechanism how to, let's put it, monetize, that you don't share that expert just out of goodwill, but your expertise is needed. And yes, absolutely, you can export. Actually, the companies who are here, especially big tech and companies who has capacity, are here because first and foremost, they want to learn from you. They want that knowledge because then extradite that and they monetize it also. And fair enough, if they come here and they do things maybe for free or with support, they learn it and they obviously continue to build their product. So you can do the same. You as a state or you as your companies should be absolutely doing the same.
For sure. We met a lot of small European businesses and InfoSec on this conference on cybersecurity that we've met. And I saw the Nordic companies and many others who are they are keen looking for opportunities, and it's mostly not for money, but for sharing the expertise, because we are struggling a lot and we are learning a lot. Absolutely. And I believe in the cybersecurity field, we are doing quite good.
Yeah. You are. Look, even if you don't believe yourself, from the inside it feels differently. I know. I'm coming as simple as that. You have VIA services. Okay, you have had some interruptions on some services. I think it was Eurovision voting or something. But that was not because of, it was overload.
But it's like a note here, despite all that hate. We support the DIA team on this breakdown. It was a nightmare, but you did well. So,
but what I wanted to say is that if you don't believe that you are doing well in cybersecurity, the simple axiom is that you have DIA, which services 20 plus million people. That is a target for Russia. Trust me, if they could, they would take it over. They would make use of it. They would penetrate. So if you are able to, if these things are standing digitally or working digitally, that means that you are doing something right cybersecurity-wise. Really, it's just as simple as that. We saw that in Latvia. The moment smaller companies, digital companies in Latvia, started to help Ukraine as war broke out, immediately they got attacked. And the ones who had weaker cybersecurity, I gone through some of the sort of bad examples. Super simple mistakes, didn't require rocket science. And Russia made use of it. So just know by fact that your service is wrong. And look, Ministry of Justice was attacked, Ukrzaliznica, Kyivstar. So these are all the examples that Russia is attacking you digitally heavily. And in that, your digital services in majority work. So take that credit, really do take that credit and be proud of that. But it's like constant, it's like a moving target.
Yeah, for sure.
You constantly have to keep learning and keep, sharing.
We all feel like there is a red cross in our, a red dot in our head all the time. But when we're talking about those cases that you've mentioned, let's talk about the security of data. I believe that my personal data is already, everybody who's interested, they knows it because we were attacked heavily. There were leaks, we know about that. How do you think, is this a big threat and how to deal with it?
I think it is a big threat. I honestly very disappointed in Latvia. Just to make you feel better that it's not only difficult in Ukraine. In Latvia, national system of local municipality data server was hacked and data were stolen. And we still don't know where it is. We haven't seen that in black market. We don't know. And we can assume worst scenarios where those data are, which means we have all local municipality citizen data somewhere. And that's not good. But the thought that, so what makes me rethink is that all of us who are in social media,
everybody giving away a lot.
We are giving away data. Facebook, Meta, even earlier years when I studied bit in depth, had thousands of analytical points on human beings. So imagine that even me, not saying my personal code, not putting address,
just like memes.
But by the way, the amount of the data they have about me, analyzing my conversations, my geolocation, buying in data from my different other, online shoppings and different, they actually now know that all, that probably, let's imagine Russian has hacked. So what I guess I'm trying to say is that it's a new reality, that data is out there. And we have to obviously do our best to protect the sensitive data, especially when it comes to sensitive fields like privacy or health or military, right? The things that can really harm you very quickly, directly. But I think the best protection will become actually to build difficult technology solutions like buffers in between, which makes you immune In a way, like, you have bacteria out there, you know that those bacteria can kill you, but you are capable to protect yourself and build different immune digital solutions that even them having that data, they can't harm you.
Mm-hmm.
I know it sounds complicated, but I think that's where we're heading.
No, it's like vaccine. It's totally makes sense. I'm just thinking about, I'm a fan of digitalization. I'm working in digitalization. It's like a huge passion of me. But I'm aware of the way that the more we digitalize, the more we automatize, the weaker we are getting, because we accumulate all the data in one place. It could be a target, everybody knows everything in 1 minute. And that is the truth. And plus, we have artificial intelligence built on the top of this cake. Is this a right way to do it? Or we should keep something in different?
And I worked more than 10 years. So I worked in an early stages. When I think there was still hope to get it right.
Oh.
I think. Yeah. But now I came to my internal conclusions that we have to live with the fact what's happening. And citizens going to use it. I had a really great conversation yesterday with your Center of Excellence on AI. And they had this meeting with teachers. And it's about there is this fundamental question. We have to get it right, AI in education, because it's AI, I'm sorry for my English, you're going to screw up kids otherwise. But guess what?
Calculator.
When they ask teachers, how many of you are using AI, 90% raises hands. So what I'm telling you is that people are there. People going to go and do that. People know that TikTok is not a good platform. Neither Telegram, right? But people are there. So we should not go against society who is already there. We can't change that. I think the question is, can we build on top? Or again, can we put in layers? Or can we put solutions that make that environment better or protects people? Or, if we can build a self-driving car, which Elon Musk did with Tesla, which has billions of algorithmic lines to make that car move, I actually think that we can do algorithms with billions of lines that make AIs and everything else better place. The question is that car is built for profit, but those values, those freedoms, it's not something that you monetize. It's harder. But I would never go against that digitization. Even I'm sitting and I'm also scared.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more like, okay, people are there. People gonna do that. What can we do about that? What can we build on it to make sure that they, move on right way?
Yeah, I'm hearing you. And, for me, all the digital stuff and even the more sophisticated digital stuff is an instrument. I mean, that's just a tool that you are using for something. It's not an evil and not a good. But it's a matter of how you use it. And like an atomic energy, it could be evil and could be good. And now I agree with you that it's slipped our control and it's already moving their own way. And now the thing is how we shape it better.
Exactly.
Do you think that in the good scenario, in the optimistic scenario, that there is a chance that we can shape it, that all the digitalization and artificial intelligence will not make us even more unequal than money did? Because we have different access to all this stuff. People use it differently. And for example, for me to make artificial intelligence to work for my good is better chances. I have better chances than half of the Ukrainians here.
Okay.
And we are not equal in that. And it will increase the stuff. So do you think that is a threat?
Mm-hmm.
Let's move.
I think, again, it's unavoidable. Because if you go historically through whichever times we all lived, industrial revolutions, books and education coming, you can go historically. I think there will be always inequality. It's just a fact. And I think with technology, in a way, technology is a cheaper comparing to, do you have a car or you don't have a car? Did you send a kid to school or you didn't send? Speaking of centuries ago. So I think we have to push that. And I think that's where you have global organizations, but eventually there will be always inequality. And I think that's where government's role is super important, to redistribute that, to make sure that the social groups who don't have that capability, because government is not a business, government is not for profit, right? Government has certain responsibilities, and that is super important, because who's going to take care of weakest? It is the government. And I think that's a super important job that both on government national level, but also internationally, like UN. I don't know what UN is doing anymore, but I still think that could be something that
they lost their credits, you know.
I know, but the politics is the same because the rule of law is going out of window, right? And maybe some of these things on inequality or some of these more humanitarian is something that they can be good at. But this is a common problem globally. And this is common problem also on rich societies. You know, we tend to think that in Europe, there is no problem. They're the same, right? There's always these groups who don't have that. And you're absolutely right. AI is like with every industrial and technology revolutions, those who are better placed speed up faster. You know, the way chips and everything speeds up, it means that the gap goes deeper and quicker than, you know, with previous technology or whichever thing was invented. I hear you. But technology, for me, a good sign is that technology is still the cheapest, you know, comparing to can we procure everyone a car versus can we get everybody online?
But with AI on a national level, it's like not the cheapest stuff. For example,
No.
you know, everything that USA and China are building, they are like left us far behind, and all this new legislation that USA is providing when they all different nations, different countries have different.
Here, Trump is reviewing it.
Really?
It is.
Oh,
I don't know whether it's good or bad because everything is unexpected.
we should watch out. But it's not out there.
I was so in the art.
It was like, you know, it was like a segregation rules.
Yeah, because this week is, and I don't know whether, which I also didn't dig in deep enough. I read a few articles, but it said, one of the points that they also mentioned is that it is difficult to enforce. Because of course, you know, you can set the rules, but then the question is how you're going to control it. Because, you know, you can sell to one, but that one can resell to us. It's like,
Yeah.
so I don't know whether
Nobody sells to Russia, but Russia has everything, you know.
So I don't know whether I have a suspicion maybe, you know, the change is triggered by the fact that you can't really enforce it. But maybe there's a fact that they realize that this sort of, there is something, you know, it doesn't make sense or maybe there were sufficient voices. And I know actually from coming from Latvia and still working with Latvian government people informally or having a contact, that I know that Latvia raised the voice because we are also, I don't remember, second or third tier, whichever we were, that this is not acceptable. And there were very concrete business cases where we already saw that we will not be able to keep moving the capabilities fast enough.
But it means that this legislation, if it stays in this similar configuration, it gives no chance for national models to develop them to the level that they can benefit from themselves. So that means that we can, inside the country, we can watch out on the access to technology from the weakest, but on the national level, we still will be like the lowest part of it. And it looks like really a huge global segregation.
I think it's a bad political signal. I also have heard sort of informally with working with some American companies, you know, and complaining to them. And they would be very honest coming back and saying to me, okay, show me the cases where you don't have it enough yet. And it's actually true. We have not yet exhausted
Are you capable to use it all?
Yeah. So in a way, there's an outcry that we see there is a ceiling for us, which is unfair compared to others. But we haven't also done that homework yet to reach that ceiling. So I think politically it's not a good signal. I think it's not the right signal. At least, you know, between democracies, allies and partners who are, if we start to look at this world to be bipolar, let's put it that way, right? There's China and then there's US and Europe. And so I think at least among those who stand on a common values and common systems, which is always a difficult topic because then you can start to ask questions, where does Turkey stand? You know, and where it's like, who is in, who is out?
Even on the European level, I mean, US and China are the biggest economies. Ukraine and Latvia are not. And there is a point of how we probably accumulate our ask, but it's still the challenge of making a deal inside.
I don't like word hopeful. I think it's just that US administration is reviewing it. And I think there are very pragmatic reasons why they are doing probably that.
Yeah, no hope here, but still, like, we're hoping for good and preparing for worst. I have one block of questions concerning your foreigner perspective on Ukrainians, on Ukrainians' digital initiatives. I have a idea that we are here are losing a lot of physical resources. We are losing people and we are losing territories, and we are losing our critical infrastructure. And like there is a huge loss, everyday loss. We got used to it, but still our resources. We are a big country, but our resources are not endless. And I believe the only endless resource that we have, and that could be a core and beneficial for us making a new economy here, is the knowledge. And the huge part of this knowledge is military knowledge. I mean, how we do new battle on drone-based battles, and digital knowledge on security and building products in this society. And from your perspective, from what you have seen here, where do you have the more powerful points for growth here, where we accumulated the more expertise that could be useful for a war?
You're absolutely right. Of course, it's military right now, because that's, we are all very simple human beings. We create stereotypes and narratives about things, and then we live in those sort of own created bubbles. And of course, that perception of Ukraine is that where you are good at is, standing against incredible adversary, and you achieved that because of your innovation and tech. So I think that is really your selling. I think the difficulty you face currently selling that is that really the best and the brightest really don't have time to share knowledge, because they actually has to stand day in and day out and save your lives basically every night, right? When drones come, technology is needed, etc. So I think it's hard, but that's really your quickest pitch to the world, or, things that the world really is looking at. And as we look at the world where conflicts are brewing up everywhere, we know the situation between Taiwan and China and India and Pakistan and so on. So I think we are back to this so-called realpolitik. Everybody understands that you have to build these capabilities, and that the wars are fought now by modern ways, not by previous war experiences. And so that's where you should really figure out. And I think you are doing, as possible as you can. But on the other hand, which world doesn't see so well, because everybody's so focused on war, is that you actually do innovate quite a bit on different civil solutions or societal solutions. And I think that's not unimportant. It's just less visible. And that's where maybe more aggressive marketing and pushing that narrative out and finding potential partners or those who want to take that experience.
Who could be interested? Somebody who is going into the conflicts. I believe here everybody is watching, they are on it. But from more civil part of it, agriculture, innovations, and there is a lot of agri-tech in our country, and all this cybersecurity knowledge that we're gathering from attacks on not only military targets. Kyivstar is not a military attacker, but they are still under attack. And there is like the two quickest points. Maybe you see something else.
Well, I see, you building a lot in education. I'm actually very curious to see that project, and I think the world will be very curious, because everybody understands everything starts with education. But
you're talking about Mria, yeah?
Yes, but also I understand Mria, the one that goes, you have a web portal which is accessible for everyone.
Yeah, it's like a big educational portal.
But then you also have this school program where you go to teachers and classes, and you are digitizing this sort of I wouldn't say a closed, but you have this special a place where you
materials,
where every kid is, where you have, starting from your school schedule, but which in old version is just the digital school schedule and, homework assignments. You are turning that into interactive learning platform for school teachers and kids. And I think that's powerful. I think you need that because of many reasons, but the world needs that too. And I think that will be eventually something that the world will be very curious to learn from you if you succeed, which I trust that you will. It looks like the beta version has gone out and there have been already good signs. And so I think education is something that everybody understands we have to do it. But some do and some are struggling because, it's a very conservative environment. Education is a conservative field, and it's not very easy to change it. And you, again, on these, the war has made you very agile to the level of, in a lot of conservative fields.
Flexibility is our second name. We're incredibly flexible.
Yeah, well, it's unfortunately, you have to really, so I think education, I think also medtech might be something that I'm not deeply inside, but that could be something like agriculture you mentioned already. Medtech also could be the field where I understand a lot of innovation is applied in your cases, and could be the field. And then I think artificial intelligence, which is, of course, it's not like a one field, it's like cross-cutting everything. But as such as it currently is sort of the flavor of the day is to be about everything about AI. I think you also have to consolidate what is already using AI and working efficiently and try to exploit it.
Yeah, thank you for that. You know, I'm feeling better now than in the beginning of our conversation. You give me hope, and you never look at yourself when you see a lot of failures. You try a lot and you fail a lot, which is naturally. And we are tend to focus on our failures more than on credit.
But you are not unique in that. And let me tell you briefly, my husband Thomas, when we moved to Palo Alto, and when we enrolled a kid to the school in Palo Alto, of all the places in the world, right? In the same school where Steve Jobs' daughter was going, years before. And when we saw how the enrolling takes place, we queued up, we copied pages. It's like, okay, for a credit, it's like 6-7 years ago. But for Estonians, that was like, it's like, and then you get your boost of, how good you are. Because you, as society, are locked in this country. You travel really for many reasons. So it's also difficult to get anywhere. You don't get that comparison, how good you are digitally. But you really are. I'm not like flirting or complimenting just because, I want to inspire. But because you don't have this exposure, actually how bad digitally some other places are working. And of all the places, Palo Alto, it would be the heart of the beat. I was joking, but it's like, I really want to walk over to Steve Jobs if he would be alive. Or for that matter, to Mark Zuckerberg, who lives the same place. It's like, how do you do DMV, this, car registration places? It took me ages and queues and papers and everything. It's like, you must have a secretary who probably did this all, because otherwise you would just have bought it, you would just have digitized it, and it would be done. So painful. Yeah. And you have reverse. You've done this here. You can now buy and own your car online without even stepping out.
Yeah, I have everything.
So be proud of that.
Thank you so much. Talking about your husband, you mentioned it. That is a good bridge to come to the more private stuff, if you don't mind.
Difficult one.
Yeah, for those, but nobody is watching us because this is a radio. But I must tell you that I had an incredibly good-looking woman in front of me. And I know that it took you a lot of hard work to get you professionally where you are. And you've managed to deliver kids, and you've managed to be a wife, and you've managed not just to be a wife, but you have the role, this important role of being the first lady, combining with all this stuff. So the question is how... To tell us the secret, how did you manage this?
And then we had a coffee before, and I'm not afraid to be on the record that I didn't. To be honest, I did fail on many things, and you have to live with that. There are things you're not gonna manage, and I'm not often in social media, but once algorithm brought me some quick video of I think she was a Pepsi CEO in America.
Yeah.
And she has very beautiful sayings that it's illusions that you can have it all.
There is no balance.
Yeah. So you saw the same thing.
You cannot get it all at the same time.
But that said, besides, making this caveat that I also did not manage everything. That said, I have to admit, and I sometimes been, discussing with people, it does require huge discipline. The fact that I have managed, I think the hardest was, like you said, I was the first lady of Estonia. I kept the job in Latvia. The job was Ministry of Defense of all the jobs. It wasn't like, in and out.
Yeah.
I had, I think when I married, I had 2.5-year-old daughter. Already, it was I had children and I had an older son. And my older son went in school in Latvia. I did not drag him out. I had a job and I had first lady's role. And it was very disciplined work.
So you did planning?
I did a lot of planning. I also made sure that I have dedicated time for kids, also for some of my hobbies to remain human, not a robot. but also being very demanding on myself. When you work, you focus and you get things done. And what I learned over my many years, which I think it's actually horrible conclusion, that more I have to do, better I'm getting done. And I have been in these very rare occasions in between when I had less work, but I still had some work. You will not believe I have done some things like for 3 months.
Yeah,
and I was like,
I know.
in my life, I could get this done in 2 days.
Yeah.
And now I'm dragging it for 3 months. And
Because I can.
because I can. And I don't say it lightly, it has not been. It was not easy, to combine these all roles, and some of things that made me mad, and then some of things now when I look back, I think I should not have been, women, I won't say general women, but I'm of those types that I don't ask a question if or why I should be done. If this needs to be done, I'm just going to make sure this gets done. And, if there are 5 things that needs to be get done, I will fix it. If there are 12 things, I'm going to squeeze that in too. Now, when I look back, I think that maybe I hurt myself in some ways, that, maybe there were things I should not have allowed other people to use me to get things done. But you learn that through years, and I still, I think I decide in myself, I make a choice. Okay, if this is the things that I care and these things has to be done, and no matter how much things I already have, I will get it done. And I think it's just really super good discipline, super staying focused.
And tolerance to failure.
Yes, accept the fact that some things you will not manage. And going back to that Pepsi lady, but I have kids and people always are worried, and I worried. That was my biggest worry. Am I hurting my children? Because there is, of course, this perception that more mother is with a kid, the better it is for kid. And I think it's true. I'm not going to argue against that. But children are also incredibly resilient. The way that we as mothers are going to love kids no matter what, how they're going to turn out and what they're going to do, that's the same way they are loving us. And they are accepting us the way we are. And my way with children has always been very honest, even from very early ages with them. That I'm going on trips, when you have 2 or 1 years old, crying, that mom is moving out of the door, etc. I have been super, focused on giving them all my love, but also super organized whenever I travel. I would record videos, I would schedule calls. Like, I worked in Kiev a lot, and they stayed there, now they are school age. I would have 8 o'clock call or 7:30 online every morning. There would be this web, whatever we had, a Google, some device, where they see me visually, I see them visually. So they don't have to talk to me. They can just sit and eat the egg or drink their tea or whatever, but they would have my present digital. And I would be very, creative, innovative, but to make sure that they know that their mother, even if she physically doesn't stand in that kitchen, that it's with them. So it's a lot of discipline, but it's doable. It's absolutely doable.
It is. Yeah, I'm feeling all the time that I have kids. My kids are 9 and 11. All the time that I have kids, I feel so jealous to women who are truly, fully, happily staying home with their families. I mean, there is such a type, if you are fulfilled with his roles and you don't need all this crazy professional stuff, traveling, or you don't need to be a boss and to build teams, which also requires a lot of your intention. And I thought, okay, it's such a happiness to be fulfilled by this only, but there's a lot of women that are not. And for example, now in Ukraine, we have a lot of our men lost and fighting, which means that in our quite patriarchic society, women have to take roles they don't get used to. And we are dealing with a lot of stuff by ourselves, and we are still mothers, and we are still having our women attitude to life. We want to be good looking, we want to have some arts in our life and so on, and this becomes extremely challenging. And having such an example is a great privilege. So thank you for sharing this. And the main thing here, girls, we all are in the same position. I mean, everybody's failing, everybody's planning, everybody's struggling and trying to get this shit together. But
For me, it's most important when I come to peace myself, that I know who I am, and I also know how much I can give to the kids. Actually, it all comes to the place. You don't have to feel guilty. And honestly, also, kids are really fine if they don't see you all the time, because the world is not only surrounding you. But for those who are actually those feels happy and good being also at home, also, I think, it's not an easy job. It's really, I think you actually agree with me, staying home and doing that homework every day. It's
also 3 careers.
It's super hard. And in a way, you can envy them because they feel happy with that. But I admire them that they can survive that. Because to be honest, sometimes for me, it is easier. It's like I see nanny coming, I'm running away.
I'm running away from home. I'm so happy to see this interview together.
It's not easy to be just at home, I think.
Not.
And I think these women also make their own decisions and choices, which are those moments that give them happiness. And how do they get the happiness even if they just clean house every day after kids? Because you hear clean house after kids every day.
Yeah, it's out every time. Yeah,
and it's still monthly.
And it's still dirty.
And so I think it's hard either way. And the most important thing is to find your inner feeling, what makes you feel good, and then craft the balance which makes you feel good. And don't listen to judgment or role models around, because I might be a role model maybe for you, for others, but totally not role model for different other people. And that's okay, because it's only your balance. And your kids will love you and your kids will admire you for you being happy. To have that good feeling, whichever is your balance that you shape for them. Absolutely. Really, I can, I have a 2-year-old son who gone through crazy my life. We are really the best friends. And we can sit and have a conversation. And he would say, honestly, also things like, yeah, I missed you somewhere there, or, never would complain. And really turned out a great person with we having good relationship. Yet me, marrying president, running 3 careers, being in different continents. So you can do that. Like really women who feel worried or guilty, don't. Because as long as you ensure their safety, health and basic needs, the rest they will grow with you and they will accept you and they will be equally happy with you.
Thank you for that. I have one extremely personal and maybe rude question, and you can refuse, but I'll try.
There's not much that can surprise me.
You've married a president, which I believe in the society's shattered stuff is like a huge achievement for a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And like, for example, marry a prince is kind of a fairy tale that comes true. Not for everybody, but you managed, you had this son. I'm not talking about the certain man and you, but like in general, this story sounds like that. And while I was preparing reading about you on the internet, I understood that this thing that makes me feel proud when I wrote that after marrying a president, you've made an announcement that, I don't need a driver, I don't need a salary, I don't need all this stuff. I will keep my job and I will live where I lived. And I will assist my husband where he needs me, but only when he needs me, not playing all this role, not dividing all my life. And, and that makes me feel so proud. That is a woman. I mean, that is extremely courageous thing to do, because I understood that that was not a dynasty marriage. You probably had love and it was a very personal stuff, but you choose yourself over all this thing. And how did it feel?
It was difficult, but it was important for me. And I don't know, honestly, I'm not that smart as I look probably. I think that's how I think of myself, because I now understand how important that decision was then. Then I acted on intuition, to be honest. And I think women has great intuition.
Yeah.
I don't know where does that come. I have not studied science, or maybe it's not scientifically justified. It just felt the right thing back then. And now when I look back, I understood it was actually very right thing, because that was something that kept me professionally, being myself somewhere. And it's That's one of the very big problems or difficulties is when you marry somebody very famous. And it doesn't matter whether it's a president or prince or, just, Jeff Bezos or, that personality is so big and it's not his fault. That personality is so big that you are not there. And I've been in so many situations when a conversation it's my conversation, right? I start to talk about things I care, and I do that. And my husband comes, and it's done. Yeah. Nobody is interested in what I do and how and it's hard, you have to keep it. I know I've been following this, Anne Applebaum and Radek Sikorski, incredible couple, preserved but I have met the current president Duda with his wife. And for example, Polish law doesn't allow the president's wife. It's a very conservative society, Catholic. She can't even keep her job. She was actually a teacher in university or a professor. And then I have met Finns, and they're opposite. Actually, Finnish former president's wife was doing all kind of her own things, and I totally understand her. Which was more hard for me is because was not even sort of marrying big personality. I was actually from different countries, so it's like besides that, it was challenging, a next level. But I guess the lesson learned, no matter what is your other side, is you have to keep your space, whatever it is, whether it's profession or hobby or some value, friends, doesn't matter. Because the relationship is difficult and you are two independent people and you need that your own thing, whichever is that. So for me, it's been a super important part and I'm glad that I'm now in Ukraine and I can do my own thing also in some way as my own personality. That's not an easy challenge.
You have all my admiration, Yushima, because that is a great example. Thank you for sharing everything. Maybe there is something that I haven't asked but you would like to share.
No, I really, just reiterate that I'm super proud and honored to be working here because you're really doing so many great things in technology and digital. And it's just that because you are so focused and busy and because of horrible war, you don't really get to enjoy that yourself. And, sometimes that's okay. In life, we have periods when you don't get to enjoy much of, what you do, but still take a credit for that and be proud for that.
Thank you.
Рвані шаблони, подкаст Ольги Довганіч.
Отак буває, коли жінки не зраджують собі. Це були рвані шаблони, і тут могла би бути інтеграція зі школою англійської мови, але якщо ви дослухали до кінця, то, напевно, вона вам не потрібна. Обняла ваша Оля.